Hi folks, Six Lasers here. Now if your connection with Taylor's Eyewitness comes just through the internet, you could be forgiven for thinking that almost all they make are Barlows, and of those in desert ironwood, and it's true that is probably one of the very finest knives that they make, and as a result it's relatively common, and you see this one and everything from Stephen Smallhouse's videos certainly through a number of mine and a number of other people making videos about old traditional knives today, but in truth that's one of a very large range. I mean, that's a single blade Barlow in desert ironwood. They do twin blade Barlows. This one in very interesting Zircote wood. They use traditional materials such as buffalo horn, and this is one of the nicest buffalo horn knives I've seen in a long time. Beautiful feathering in it. Premium materials like mother of pearl. This is my favourite of all the knives I own. And then they even do modern materials. This one here is an acrylic. It's actually gold, real gold in green acrylic. You know, they do that. They also do a number of other patterns, from the slim Barlow, the lamb's foot. They do things like a peach pruner, a half pruner, and I've no doubt somewhere in their lineup, though I've never actually seen one, there's probably a full pruner. And then they do, as well as that, they do multi-blade knives such as the Stockman, which they don't do very often because they tend to sell for a lot of money, and you know, they you know, even by Taylor's standards, these are expensive. They're twin blade knives. A lot more work goes into one of these. It's probably close to twice the amount of work that goes into a Barlow. So you inevitably are going to pay for Lee White's time. Now they also do various types of penknife, and the two that are most common in their book these days are their little twin blade equal end penknife. This one here is again in thuya wood, and is my wife's favourite of all my knives, Taylor's Eyewitness and others. And the other one that they do quite commonly at the moment is a twin blade serpentine, and this one is one that's been on their books since the beginning of time, just about as far as I can see. They used to do them with synthetic covers. They've done them without bolsters, but this shape and the blade mix of a Warncliffe and a pen has been there for a long time. That's the pen knives they currently do, and they have done, of course, others in the past that aren't currently on their list. For example, this is an earlier slim Barlow that they don't do anymore, which I think is a shame, because I really like these bolsters. I'd love to see the bolsters like that returned rather than these sort of more modern looking ones. And another one I've got here is another twin blade penknife, unlike the slim Barlow here though, which is a twin sprung knife. This one is two blades off a single spring, which is more like their serpentine penknife that they do. Again, this one is a discontinued one. It has a very long primary blade with a clip point, but more importantly, or more interestingly here, this is the only Taylor's knife that I have had that's got a shield on it. All the others don't. So anyway, what are we doing here? Well, a little while back I had David Kidd from the Bakewell Cookshop contact me and said that Alistair Fisher, who's a director of Taylor's Eyewitness wanted to get in contact with me to see whether I would be interested in reviewing a new pattern that they've got coming out, and of course I said yes. And Alistair said, could he send me 2 knives to review, and these are pre-production knives, so they've come in Premier Collection boxes, but they don't have any labels on saying what's in them. Inside they had a little piece of paper with each one, and the first one had a little piece of paper that says snakewood on it. Now I have to say this looks more like desert ironwood to me than snakewood, but I've no reason to disbelieve Mr. Fisher, and so snakewood it is. I'll show you the outside features of this knife, and then I'll show you the other knife with the blades open. I don't want to open the blades on camera because I managed to cut myself opening them the other day off camera. They're all very sharp. So from the outside, first of all, and really sort of obviously I suppose in a way, we have a shield. Shields nowadays are generally cut into the knives. Often they don't fit desperately well and they're held in place with glue. This one is fitted very, very accurately, very professionally, and it is pinned. There's a single large pin in the middle, which we'll have a look at in a minute. We've got twin bolsters and this lovely bit of desert ironwood. Now if I turn it over, you'll see not only is this not a single spring or even a double spring, this is a triple spring knife, and you'll see that the springs here are stacked all the same way up, whereas what they do with the twin blade or twin sprung knives, when they do the file work, they tend to make it a mirror one side to the other, but the mirror would look a bit odd, I think, with the 3-spring knife, because you have 2 one way and 1 the other, so it would look perhaps imbalanced, whereas by doing them this way they've got a beautiful consistency to it. We've got brass liners and we've also got brass dividers, although the dividers divide just the springs, not the blades. The blades are undivided, and of course that file work continues onto the ends of the, as we'll now see, 5 blades, and where the 6th blade would have been if there was one such a thing, the tail of the spring comes all the way around and the file work continues all the way around, and it's very neatly cut off just short of the point of the longest blade, which is about as perfect as you're going to get. And the other thing you'll notice is that the blades are deep set into the knife handle, and they're only accessible with these little easy open cutouts in the handle, which is, there's a lot of tradition there that exists with these things. Now Keith Moorby, that designed these, used to be the head pocket knife maker at Taylor's, and he trained a number of people, including Michael May, Lee White, may have trained Russell White as well, I'm not 100% sure. But he came up with these designs based on a 1920s or 1930s design in a Taylor's catalogue. So they have tradition in them as well as them being very, very modern. But I think one thing that's often lost in knives today is that these are really smooth to put in your pocket. It'd be difficult to overemphasize really, but it's become the norm. You expect there to be a tang sticking out at the end of your knife, and there are 1 or 2 people who have made attempts to do something about it. Sometimes they're quite low, but still there, and other times they're non-existent, like this little pocket knife here. They're almost non-existent. They do just protrude ever so slightly. Here they don't protrude at all, and also your blades don't stand hugely proud either. They're slightly proud of the handle, but not very much, and that means that you can slip this into your pocket and there's nothing to catch on anything. It increases what I always call with case knives, I always say the fondle factor, and these very much have that fondle factor. They're all sort of smooth worrystone like, as opposed to sharp and chunky things that you can jag yourself on. There's nothing in these to jag yourself on, unless of course we open the knife, in which case we've plenty to jag ourselves on. We've got 5 blades here, or 5 pieces. One of the blades is given up to being a nail file and a nail cleaner. I think that's a good thing. 5 blades is great, and it's fun to have, but at the same time there's a little bit of overkill perhaps, and perhaps not as practical as it might be to have something else. In fact, I would probably go as far as to say I would happily lose another blade to maybe have a pair of scissors or a bottle opener or something like that. I don't know if there's really room in a knife like this for that, but it would be quite nice if it was possible. Now, this pattern is going to be available with a 5-piece set up, 4-piece and 3-piece, all on the same frame. And one imagines there'll be a two-layer version and 3-layer versions, but I'll, let's say, on the same frame. And yet to see those, this is, or these are, the first time I think these have been seen on the internet anywhere. I don't believe they've been out anywhere else. Now, the other 4 blades after the nail file and nail cleaner, we have a coping blade here, beautiful straight edge. We have, I'm not sure whether this is a sheep's foot or a Wharncliffe. That sort of curve on the top is probably too sharp a turn to be a Wharncliffe. So I would probably call it a sheep's foot, but for a sheep's foot that's a little bit curved as well, so I don't know, I'll call it a sheep's foot. And I'm calling this a pen blade, despite the fact it's probably a drop point, but it's fulfilling the job of a pen blade, so it's a pen blade. And the main blade here, which is only really slightly larger, is a main spear, but again it's probably a drop point if we were being very technical. Now, one thing, in terms of size, how does this compare to a Barlow? It's about the same length, and it's also about the same width. It's very slightly wider than the Barlow in profile, but not a lot. These covers on it are much thinner than the Barlow covers, but it's certainly a lot smaller than say the Stockman, which, yeah, it really is quite a chunky thing in your pocket in whichever way you look at it. So this is, we have just established, smooth and easy to fit in your pocket. It has 5 blades, so you've got something for everyone. If you're whittling or whatever, you can keep 1 or 2 blades razor sharp and the others as general blades or whatever. But whatever it is, they really are nice. The other difference with this one, other than it's not snakewood, this one is stabilized Thuya burl, and Thuya burl is lovely, but it needs to be stabilized if it's going to last the test of time. You stabilize it by effectively soaking it in epoxy resin, something like cactus juice or some other brand, and you can apply pressure or a vacuum or both to drive out the any bubbles in it, and when you're finished you end up with a wood, when it's dried, you end up with a wood that is very, very tough and resilient and very, very stable. It has all the advantages of a plastic, or synthetic handle in terms of toughness and stability over time, but it also has the beauty of the wood, and in this case the beauty is something else. This is just, it's quite possibly the prettiest penknife I've ever seen. I mean, I don't know how you can compare it to, say, mother of pearl or something like that. It's difficult to make a direct comparison, but in terms of just wood grain, this is just a really, really lovely knife. And the other thing which affects that is that, unlike all my other Premier knives, which all have polished bolsters and shiny wood, this has a satin finish. So the satin finish both to the bolsters and to the shields, but also to the wood. And that satin finish gives the bolsters and the shield a kind of a brassy look to it, which goes beautifully with this wood and the brass pins and the brass liners. All in all, this is a stunningly beautiful knife. Now, as I say, it's unbranded, as to say there's no tang stamps on it, and the reason for that is that these are pre-production knives, and only when they're absolutely certain that they've got everything right and they're ready to go into full production will they put a stamp on it. And I really appreciate that, because I think people should be really proud of their logos and tang stamps and trademarks. Often you see them either badly applied or not applied, or you get things like the knives that are just stamped made in Sheffield. I like to see, you know, in this case it would be the all-seeing eye, which I like to see on them. There are other trademarks that other companies have, and some of them are very proud of them because they've had them a very long time, like Rogers and Woolstenholme and people like that have had their trademarks for 200 or 300 years. So I think it's really a good sign that they take their trademarks so seriously that they're only going to apply it once they're sure that they've got the knives right. Now, I think they probably are ready to apply it. I don't think they would have shown me these knives if they weren't happy that they were ready to go. And unless, I suppose, if I came back and said there was some serious flaw with them, but there isn't. They're just really, really gorgeous knives. If I have one concern, it's to do with the way the blades are set, and you'll see that. I'll show you with this one. Well, you need them both to sort of show it properly. You have 3 blades from this end, and they all come together and sit inside the 2 blades that come from this end. And that means that these 3 blades are very, very close together, both when they're folded and when they're open. When they're open, you see they don't touch. They might look like they do, but they don't quite touch each other, but they're very, very close. So I suspect there's an opportunity for blade rub over time. But, you know, Keith Moorby designed these knives. Who am I to criticise a man with such pedigree? I'm sure they're done that way for a very good reason. And actually, I mean, they do look nice when you see them seated together like this. And it's similar to, I was going to say an issue, it's not an issue, but it's a similar situation to you have with the Stockman, in that I always think that the coping blade or the sheep's foot blade on the Stockman looks like it kind of goes the wrong way, but that's the way it goes. It seems it's got quite a sort of dogleg shape to it to bring it over to miss the spay blade here and brings it very close to the main blade. That's just the way they always are, and it's not a tailor's thing, that's an everybody thing. So, you know, it's just me. Anyway, that's enough of this. I'd like to thank Alistair for sending these knives to me. I promise I'll send them back. I did say in my original email I would happily send them back. Truth is, I'll send them back through gritted teeth because they are absolutely gorgeous and I would love to have these in my collection. But they'll go back, and when they finally go into production, I've been promised one for my collection, so I'll be pleased to see that, and I can imagine I'll be buying more than one for myself, though these will not be cheap. I expect that they will be well north of the £200 mark, possibly even £300, just because of the amount of time and effort that goes into making them. They're not knocked out 1,000 a day. These will be knocked out at maybe 3 a day by an artisan working very hard to produce these beautiful knives. So if you like this stuff, please give it a thumbs up, and there's more stuff like this to come, including a full rundown of all my tailor's knives and all my Sheffield knives, which I hope to be doing in the next couple of weeks or so, and with the high-end knife series progressing as well. So subscribe and remember to ring the bell if you want notifications. Okay, thank you very much. Bye.